Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm Tim Laskus, and you're listening to The Tim Laskus Show. This is episode 76. Today's featured guests are Juhan and Jorma, and they are two young entrepreneurs from Estonia who are crushing it. They've created a chatbot-based website builder called getweps.com, and they tell you all about how they started with nothing from the ground, turned down every which way they went, and finally they were able to raise some money. So they talk about raising money and going through that and becoming as successful as they have just in a few years. And they are now recognized by big names like Dropbox, PayPal, and SoundHound. And so they tell you their inspiring story on today's episode. Enjoy.
The Tim Laskus Show, in search of entrepreneurial gold. Tim digs deep into the minds of his guests. Entertaining, down to earth, and informative. Now, here's your host, Tim Laskus.
Well, hey, Juhan and Jorma, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for reminding us.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Now, you guys were saying that you love to run out in the cold with just shorts and no shirt. Is that correct?
Juhan likes to. I don't do that.
now, both of you are in Estonia. What is it like? Explain to the listeners what Estonia is like. What is it like to live there?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, it's on the map, it's below Finland. And we are the country that built Skype, which many people maybe don't know. We're a very highly technical country, which is cool, but very small as well at the same time. So it's like 1.4 million people living here. So very small country, but technically very high developed.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I didn't know that about Skype, so that's a cool little fact there. Well, tell the listeners a little bit about yourselves, guys, and what are you doing professionally?
Well, professionally, we're both involved with webs right now. So building our own startup as very young entrepreneurs. That's something that takes up most of our time, or all of our time, actually, I think. So we're both co-founders of Webs. I'm the CEO. I started out with this. So I'm currently managing everything and also responsible for the technical side. Juhan, you're like a business guy, I think. So.
So I try to handle everything else that is not technical. I'm 24. Jorma is 20. Jorma was 19.
21 now.
21 now, sorry, just got 21. And I was 23 when we started out, and Jorma was 19. So pretty young first-time founders figuring it out as we go along.
So tell the listeners a little bit about Weps. It's WEPS. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the domain is getweps.com.
Yeah, so feel free to check it out. What it is, it's a chatbot-based website builder. So instead of having like templates or drag and drop, it's just like a chatbot that's going to ask you simple questions. Like, what do you need a website for? Would you like to show a map and stuff like that? And based on that, it's building you a website, actually. So it's like a new way of building a website, basically, making it a lot easier for a lot of people.
And so the bigger story here is that, like, today when you want to have a website, you basically have two options. Either you have to hire a developer, which is very costly for many, especially small business owners, or like you have to use like one of the do-it-yourself tools like Wix, Squarespace, Weebly. And what we've seen and how the product got started is that, like, for many people, they're way too hard to use. You know, you have to like choose between hundreds of different templates. You have to start dragging, dropping, adjusting, and like there's this huge learning curve at the kind of going along with building website with these tools. And that's how Webs got started. You know, we just ask you, the user, like simple questions, or like our chatbot asks simple questions like, what do you need a website for? Do you want to show your team? Do you want to show your location on the map? And based on that, we put the website together for you. So you only need to insert the content, images and texts, and publish your website, basically.
Well, that's excellent. Now, how long ago did you start this?
The idea has actually evolved over time, but the getweps.com website registered it like a year ago almost. That's when we got the automation idea. Around September, we launched the chatbot interface. So you can say we've been around with this since September, October, sometime around last year.
Well, that's excellent. And what has been the response so far? How well is it doing?
Pretty good. So people so far most love the chatbot feature that, instead of having to choose between templates, drag and drop stuff, they can just, answer some simple questions from the chatbot and get their website. So people really, really like the chatbot feature.
Now, how did you guys get together? How do you know each other, and why did you come together to do this venture?
That's a really funny story, actually. I said I started out with this project basically some time ago. Initially, Juhan was a customer of Webs.
Yeah, so the story here goes that so I graduated my university. I got a business education. I graduated university, and after that, here in Estonia, you have to go to the military service, which is mandatory for young, healthy people, young, healthy guys. So I went to the military service, and I had some free time in the evenings that I had like pretty much nothing to do with. And I had this one friend who used to be also a mentor of mine, who was registering a new business, and he needed a new landing page for that. And I figured, since I have some free time, why don't I try helping you out? And I tried actually using Wix for building the website. And even though you could say I'm a bit a relatively tech-savvy guy, the result was terrible. Like, I don't really know actually how to build a proper website, or I didn't know at the time. So, and I put something together, realized it doesn't work out, spent like 30 hours on this. And luckily for a common friend, I heard about Jorma, that he's a web developer. And I got in touch with him, and we met up, and he actually put the first, this like landing page together for me using a very, very, very early version of Webs. And that's how we got to know each other. He solved the problem for me, and I decided to join him on that mission.
Wow, it sounds like a great partnership. Now, let's kind of move on into some tips for entrepreneurs. Since you guys have been spinning this off and working this and trying to build this as your baby, what are some tips you have for entrepreneurs who are listening out there who are really wanting to do their own thing as well?
Well, the main thing for us is just to keep on doing it. It's obvious that sometimes it's going to be rough and things don't work out. They mostly don't work out, but after a while, they suddenly somehow work, and you just have to keep on drawing stuff at the wall, see what works, what doesn't. At one point, the wall becomes sticky, as Juhan once said.
Yeah, so like when you're starting out, or like at least I feel the way I feel now is like when you started out, you feel like you're throwing mud at a stick, kind of at a wall. You don't really know what sticks. And as you go along, the wall kind of becomes stickier, so that mud sticks better to the wall. So like some things we have had to kind of understand is like need to learn patience. Like when you're starting out, you're trying out so many different things. You don't really know where you're going or how you're going to achieve what you want to achieve. Like you try to get paying customers. You reach out to people, everybody turns you down, and it's kind of pretty exhausting in the beginning. And you reach out to 5 people, they all tell you no, you have to reach out to 5 more, and so on. You send out 10 emails, only one of them gets a response. Learning this patience, dealing with no's from so many different sides, and kind of as you go along, you become more and more immune to those no's. So you don't really care anymore. Investors turn you down, you just go to the next one. The customer turns you down, you go to the next one. You just gotta keep moving on.
Yeah, be persistent is like the main thing about this.
Yeah, for sure. I think persistence and patience is kind of what you covered, and a lot of people never make it because they're not persistent enough. The early rejection really just shoots them down. So was the early rejection for the two of you difficult?
Yeah, in the beginning it was quite devastating, because the funny story here is that like when we started out like a year and a half ago, our first idea was that okay, let's raise some money for our project. And we thought, like, okay, let's make it like 150K seed round. We went to investors, and obviously, like, we got turned down by everybody because like 2 young founders with just an idea, no product, no paying customers, kind of a pretty competitive landscape as well where we were working in. And naturally, like, we were pretty much laughed out of the room. So we had to come down with our expectations, build an actual product, had to do some side jobs just to get some food money, basically. So when we started out, we didn't have any cash reserves. We had to kind of make money as we go along.
Wow. So right now, do you have investors, or are you just kind of bootstrapping, doing it yourselves?
Yeah. Luckily, at one point, one accelerator, so Access Spring and Plug and Play in Berlin, they accepted us and were like our first investors / accelerator. That got us going. That helped us get the chatbot model out there, which then allowed us to raise even more money.
So we have raised another 100K in the beginning of January.
Well, that's excellent. So how much have you raised so far?
It's been 125K.
Gotcha. Now, that must be a double-edged sword where initially you're probably very happy that you're able to raise money, but then you think, oh no, now we really have to perform.
Yeah, the pressure is like always there. And then at one point, just suddenly realize that the money is running out again. and they need more money again. So it's
Yeah.
like this endless circle. Like things go well, then they go bad, then they go well, then they go bad. But you just have to keep on doing it and be persistent throughout. And
Yeah, so the pressure becomes like always stronger as you go along. So in the beginning, you're just worrying about yourself and you and your co-founder. So if things go bad, it's just your skin that's in the game. But as you go along, you get your first employees, and now when you run out of money, it's not just your skin anymore. It's also the the livelihoods of your employees that you're responsible for. That puts quite a bit of pressure, but so far so good. We've been able to deal with this.
Yes, absolutely. Knowing that you have other families that depend on you to eat, to put food on the table is got to really kind of turn the heat up a lot for you. Now, when did both of you realize that you wanted to be entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I've kind of known it since, I don't know, I was 12, I think. So I come from a family that is, this typical, get a job, 9 to 5, go the safe path, get an education, get a job. But luckily, I've been at the same time surrounded by quite a few people in my youth and today that are entrepreneurial, have built their own businesses, and I always looked up to those people. And I figured, I want to be like those guys. I want to have my own business. I want to do my own thing. I don't want to work for somebody else. So I really knew this from childhood, I think.
Yeah, for me, it goes back even sooner, I think. Like, I can't remember a time when people didn't say that, oh yeah, this guy wants to become a businessman at some point. So it's been like a running theme throughout my life, I think.
Wow. Now, is it common is there a big entrepreneurial group of people in Estonia, or is this kind of something that there's not a lot of that most people are out just looking for jobs?
Yeah, so actually Estonia is, I think, the #1 country in Europe of startups per capita. So it's a very entrepreneurial country, actually. I think it started like after the Skype did their first exit, or like was sold the first time, and then there was this kind of Skype mafia. Like the founders of Skype went on to build other big startups, and like there was money coming into the ecosystem, and now there's more and more money coming into the ecosystem. So yeah, like there's a lot of startups in Estonia, and
I think like this entrepreneurial mindset, or like I have to have my own business. That's something that came from the 90s. I think like everyone in Estonia has a business basically, or everyone has ideas that they want to do it. All the universities and like public sector is very welcoming of new ideas, and they always push you to have your own idea, try it out.
Wow, that's wonderful, because that really is helpful when you're surrounded by other people who have that kind of same energy and focus. It really is, it's just contagious, and it helps to motivate you. And I know a lot of people will go here in the US, go to Silicon Valley and whatnot, and just be around other like-minded people because they just feed on that energy. So it sounds like that when Skype was able to kind of really become big, and then that put Estonia on the map for entrepreneurship.
Yeah, exactly. And another cool thing in Estonia is that like the government is super supportive of startups and kind of boosting the entrepreneurial community, or helping people to get started with their businesses. So it means like low taxes, like registering. Like you can actually register a business in Estonia under a few hours, I think, and you don't ever have
minutes.
Yeah, exactly, minutes, and you just do it online. You don't have to go to any like lawyers or some offices. So we've had this experience where when we were in Germany, we were registering a business in Germany. And at the same time, we had this experience of kind of running a business from out of Estonia, or Estonian legal entity. And in Germany, we had to spend like, I think it was a couple of thousand.
2 months.
And 2 months and thousands of euros just on getting the business up and running. While in Estonia, you can do it for a couple of €100, and it happens in minutes, literally.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Estonia really has a really good idea of, how do we get people to launch quickly and get rid of the red tape, get rid of all the layers and all the nonsense, and let people just go out there and do and create.
Exactly. I mean, the speed of doing business is like super fast. Another cool thing that the government has realized is that as we like the overall world becomes like more and more globalized and interconnected, like governments have to actually operate like companies. They have to compete for talent, compete for capital. And, that's why they also launched this like e-residency program where anybody in the world can become an e-resident of Estonia. So if you become an e-resident, you can register a business in Estonia, and which means that like you can operate anywhere in Europe with your Estonia legal entity.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's wonderful news. Now let's move into the dig round. And I have a couple of quick questions for both of you. What keeps you motivated?
I have no idea what keeps me motivated. I've thought about it, like, why do I keep on doing this? I have still no idea why I do this. There are times when I'm just like completely tired of what I'm doing. But for some damn reason, I keep coming back. I keep on working on it. So it fascinates me. I'm still yet to find out what it is.
And for me, at least, there's of course there's this bigger picture. You want to build a great company. Maybe someday, I don't know, sell it or become a public company. Ideally get wealthy. But I think on a bigger scale, like on an everyday basis, is like all these little things. Like you have this contract that you need to sign, or this deal that you want to close that excites you really. Some days you wake up and you have just kind of yesterday or last night closed some big deal. Now it's like, okay, what now? And now you have this opportunity to figure out where to go next. What's the next challenge, and all this excitement. It's never the same. Every day is a different day. This is really exciting.
Yeah, that is, a cool thing about being an entrepreneur. It's never boring. It's never dull. And you have to continue just to keep going and keep building and going up the ladder, so to speak. Now, who do the two of you look up to as business leaders?
For me, I don't have like this one single person who I look up to. I see it as like a collection of all the good guys, like all the Musks and other big guys in the world. So I don't have like this one big person that I look up to, but in general, like what they embody basically. So that's something that I look for.
I mean, for me, it's, of course, I guess like Elon Musk is a big ideal for everybody. Really like that guy and what he's doing and the mission he's kind of standing for. Another guy that I really like is Patrick Bet-David. I don't know if you know him.
What's his name?
Patrick Bet-David.
No, I don't.
Okay, so he's a pretty big influencer now online as well. I started like kind of following him when he was not as popular. He's very popular now, and I was like listening a lot to his podcast, his videos, his guides, tutorials. Before launching a business, like he's super practical, giving like actual advice, not the kind of usual salesy bullshit you hear in other places.
Yeah, so he sounds real practical and just down to earth.
Exactly.
Well, great. Here's the third question of the dig round. Which one do you choose, street smarts or book smarts? But you can only have one.
For me, it's definitely street smarts. When we started out with this, we had no idea what we were doing. Now we have some idea what we're doing, and it's all come from just trying things out, testing things, seeing what sticks, what doesn't. So it's basically purely street smarts, for startups at least. So to get things started, you have to just try it out and see what works and know what does.
Yeah, exactly. Same for me, street smarts. I think because like when you're building a startup, you're in this situation where you're doing something that has never been done. You're building a business that has never been built before under conditions that have, nobody else has really had in the same way before. And so practical knowledge, actually getting the experience, getting things done is the way to go forward.
Yeah. Throw the books out the window. Get rid of them. It's all about the street.
Some books that you definitely read still.
Yeah. At one point, you have to go to book smarts.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you, since you've been doing this, we talked a little bit about stress and how that's, kind of been for you, knowing you have other families depend on you. But can you share a specific moment when you thought, I don't know if I can take it anymore, when mentally you were just kind of down, and how did you overcome it?
Right. So for me, it was when I felt that I don't know if I can take it anymore, was only when we were starting out last summer. Everything was super early stage. I had personal doubts, like whether this idea is right, whether I'm the right person to help build this business, whether we have the right team together, and so on. But I think persistence again overcame everything. It's these points where you feel like nothing is going forward, or you don't really know where you're going, but then at some point we got accepted to the accelerator, so this was something to hold on to, and this got us going forward, and from there on it was already like much better, and we had the confidence that okay, we can do this. Another time that was super hard was I think it was before, like in the middle of January, when we were almost running out of the money we had from the accelerator, and we had to raise another round, not another round, but another kind of financing. And we were in a situation we were like 2 weeks away from having to let people go and kind of really make some very drastic changes. But luckily, an investor came forward, and I think it's one of the fastest it's extraordinarily fast. We closed the deal with the investor. Like it was like 2 weeks from the moment of first meeting him until signing the contract.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. And it never kind of goes away. There's always those moments that we have to overcome, moving forward. Now I kind of like to ask a different question on more of the positive note. What would you say has been one of the most fulfilling moments during this journey?
I guess I remember like when we first got accepted into the accelerator, we had like tried raising money for 3 months already during the whole summer. Things didn't work out well. Investors said no to us. We had tried basically everything. Then at one day, the guys from the accelerator called me and told me that, hey, you guys, you're accepted. Welcome to Berlin. And I think that's like one of the best moments that I've had. The second one is when the second investor came around, I think, in January, and when he basically saved us in 2 weeks, which was also really nice. So these like great big achievements that you get to have the ups.
So they gave you that kind of injection of adrenaline just when you needed it.
Basically, yeah, like before you get the money, you're basically dead almost. Then you get the money, and then you're alive suddenly again. It's just like an injection, basically.
Yeah, for sure. You were on life support, and they just came in with the paddles and just brought you back to life.
Yeah, we're still on life support, but
we're doing much better now, and we have hundreds of paying customers and doing pretty well. So,
well, that's excellent. Well, it sounds like you're on your road to success, and quickly, what is kind of your idea for the company? Are you building it to sell, or do you want to continue just going on forward?
I think it's a bit too early for us to even kind of set a clear path forward in terms of that, like whether we want to go public, whether we want to pivot, whether we want to sell the company. Right now, it's all about finding the product market fit, figuring out how to get to a very large number of users and paying customers, and building a great company and great product.
For sure. Well, you guys have been fantastic. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but Juhan and Jorma, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. But before we go, tell the listeners about your website, where they can go, and any social media places that you're at.
So yeah, our website, getwebs.com. It's free for everyone to try. So if you ever need a website, go there, try it out. It's free. If you use the promo code TimLaskis, you get 50% off from the annual package as well. For any updates, follow us on Facebook, so GetWebs. On Twitter, we're at webs_official. And Instagram, getwebs.com as well.
Excellent. So everyone, GetWebs, GetWeps.com, and they're giving you a 50% off with the promo code TimLaskis. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to following you on your journey.
Thanks so much, Tim.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Want more entrepreneurial tips? Go to timlaskis.com.